Hey everybody, thank you very, very much for joining us for day 3 of E3 at Polygon Live. I am Polygon Senior Editorial Producer Griffin McElroy. Today we're going to check out Dragon Age Inquisition. Joining me is Jenna Pitcher from Polygon. Hello,
Hi.
Jenna. And Mark Dara, producer at BioWare. Thank you very, very much for showing us the game. This is sort of like I feel like the grand reveal. Obviously, it's been a known quantity for some time, and you guys have been, drip feeding it a little bit, but this is the first time that I've seen the game, running, and a lot of people have gotten a chance to see the game running.
Yeah, we really haven't been showing very much gameplay up until now. This is the great first time for us to really show how everything comes together into one cohesive unit.
There's a lot of big ideas that you guys were showcasing at the sort of theater demo at your booth. Can you sort of walk us through it? I mean, a lot of it is pretty evident just from this footage that we're watching now. Obviously, you guys are returning to the huge open worlds of the first Dragon Age game, but what else can we expect? What else are we seeing?
Yeah, I mean, even beyond that, I mean, this level all by itself is bigger than all of Dragon Age Origins put together, and that we have a lot more regions, even bigger than this one, making up the game. So we're pushing exploration really back to what we used to have in our games in the more distant past. Additionally, we're trying to get combat to another level, bringing tactical combat back to let you play either more staid and considered or upfront in the action, if that's the way that you prefer to play.
How do you do that? I mean, how did you implement that exactly?
Yeah, so I mean, the way that it works is, we'll see a little bit here. So this is actually tactical camera right now. This lets you zoom around, get more information on individual combatants, order each of your followers, queue up actions for them, and then go back into real time, or even stay into that camera and let the action progress. It really lets you play in a more tactical way. Maybe it's you want to do it because you're playing at a hard difficulty level. Maybe you just want to have a little bit more time to consider your actions.
It's also a really neat effect. It looks like it sort of seamlessly jumps from action RPG to something more akin to XCOM or something like that, and you can actually watch the battle unfold from this free-floating tactical camera and just sort of watch. Can you play through the entire game like that? Do you even have to play with
you can. I mean, it'll go into special cameras for some of the cutscenes and cinematics, but otherwise, yeah, if you want to walk around that way, you can. I think the game looks better in this sort of over-the-shoulder view, but yeah, if you really want to get something that looks a bit more old school, you can keep that camera up there.
It seems like almost the sort of two mechanics of action and tactical seems like almost a conceptual hybrid between the strengths of Dragon Age Origins and the strengths of Dragon Age 2. Is that sort of how you guys approach it?
Yeah, from a combat perspective, that's really, in a lot of ways, a good way to think about it. We're anchoring and grounding the animation a lot more than we did in Dragon Age 2, so a guy with a two-handed sword feels like he's holding something that weighs 30 pounds as opposed to just a piece of feather. So that really slows down and makes it more believable what's happening. But we want to keep that fact that when you hit something, it feels like you hit something, and Origins kind of is missing that.
So how about dialogue trees? How has that changed in Inquisition?
Yeah, so the one thing we're introducing is something we call the real-time role-playing system. So for conversations out in the world where you're talking to a townsperson or someone with a smaller quest, it actually won't pull you directly onto a fully staged conversation. You actually stay in control. You got control over the camera. You can actually just walk away from the conversation like you can do in real life. It gives you more agency, more control of the conversation. For more cinematic, more important moments, we'll still have those really nicely staged conversations.
Okay, so just with NPC interactions with the character, how difficult was it to create a world that interacts neutrally because like you can either have a female character or a male character. If you approach someone in real life, their response is going to be different, depending on your gender, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we actually do have cases where the game does react to your gender or to your race.
Okay.
It is important to do that because you need to have that believable interaction in the world. Now, ultimately, as the game progresses, your role as Inquisitor is going to be the most important defining characteristic, so most people are reacting to that, as opposed to the fact that you're a dwarf or the fact that you're a woman. But it's still in there. You're still going to encounter cases where it does matter and does affect the gameplay.
Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about the open world structure of the game, because I feel like the open world role-playing game genre has evolved really like leaps and bounds since the first Dragon Age game. I'm seeing like a mini map with all kinds of like actions that you can take peppered all around it. Are you guys like sort of going after that Skyrim crown a little bit?
What we're really looking for is something that is open world for BioWare. Now, open world does mean that you need to be able to set your own goals. We can't possibly populate a world of this size entirely with mini quests and things to do. But if you can build yourself at your own goals of like, I'm going to gather enough of ore to build myself an awesome suit of armor, or I'm going to try to find every single landmark in this area because that gives me more power for my Inquisition. That gives you impetus to move around, and then we can pepper the BioWare storytelling in those spaces to make it feel alive, to make it feel believable the space you're living in.
So how about the approach to mature themes like sex and drugs and whatnot? How has that changed?
I don't know that drugs are such a huge part of it.
So we definitely do still have romances.
Okay.
I mean, drugs is an interesting one because we do have Templars who, in a way, are essentially addicted to this magical substance, and that does come up in the course of the game. It is a thing that is addressed.
Talk to me a little bit about the idea of your Inquisition being, sort of the driving goal. Everything that I've seen from the demos that you guys have shown off is you're doing this in order to make your Inquisition stronger. You're trying to put the world back together. Is that? It seems sort of reminiscent of the war chest from Mass Effect 3, where you're trying to build up assets to create this huge force. Is it sort of similar to that?
Yeah, on a broad scale, it is. I mean, ultimately, what the Inquisition lets you do is perform activities that a small group of people couldn't otherwise do. So maybe you reach a point where you need to get into a fortress and there's no way to sneak in the back, so what are you going to do? Well, in this case, you have the Inquisition behind you, and that means you've got 100 guys that can build you a battering ram and smash in the front door so you can get inside. It lets you do things on a scale grander than you could before. Rebuild a bridge or establish camps around the world and actually patrol the roads. Have a actually big, visible impact on the actual spaces beyond what you could normally see in a role-playing game.
So my Inquisition could end up looking nothing like yours or hers in the way that we play through the game.
Yeah, I mean, there will be cases. Obviously, your final goal of stopping the person behind all of this remains the same, but within that, you'll be able to drive it in different ways, customize your base in different ways, and just really make it your own.
So how do you customize a base? I mean, can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's not something we've really shown yet, but what you'll be able to do is out in the world, you'll find things like beds and different epic thrones for you to sit on, even tapestries that you can put in your castle, and essentially just make it look the way you play. Some of these have gameplay impacts, like if you customize a tower to be more mage focused, that's going to give you a different bonus than if you make it more chantry focused. But some of them are just there for visual.
Okay.
Just sort of Animal Crossing-y. You're basically taking a little bit of that slice of Animal Crossing, but I think that's a great blend. I think that's solid gold.
One of the things we found is that people, when you talk about like when you look at the Normandy in Mass Effect, like people like having a base, a place they go back to that sort of anchors everything together.
Sure.
They imprint themselves upon the game, kind of thing.
That's right.
Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about how the branching narrative in the game works, because that's another thing that you guys, I feel like, has evolved pretty significantly since you released the first Dragon Age game, and hell, I guess the first BioWare game ever. We're seeing a lot of developers sort of get into that, making your decisions really, really matter. Has your stance on that changed? Has the way that you implement that in your games changed?
Yeah, what we do is we have essentially 3 levels of choice. There are choice that are about tone and basically defining what your character is to you. So maybe you're saying yes to a quest, but maybe you're saying yes to the quest reluctantly or eagerly. That doesn't change the way the game acts that much, but it changes the way what your character is. Then there's choice where you're doing things that are going to have long-term implications. You're potentially deciding who's going to be on the throne of Orlais. This is going to ripple throughout the rest of the game. It has a really big impact, but it's a lot of little sort of callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do your decisions from the last games also import in? Or?
So what we're doing is we're using something called the Dragon Age Keep, which is a web app where you can go in and you can set up, essentially build a save for the previous 2 games that will then be able to import into Dragon Age Inquisition.
Okay. So, sorry, there's going to be online teammates, or?
I'm sorry?
So there's going to be 9.
9 followers, that's
followers,
right. Yep.
And I imagine horrible things will happen to them because of the terrible decisions.
Horrible things will happen based upon your decisions, yes. Or maybe not so horrible things. Maybe wonderful things will happen to them.
But at least one horrible thing.
Yes.
You say that every time. Oh, it'll be great. No, it's going to be really fun.
No, it's fine. No worries about it.
Who's your favorite character? He's dead now.
Who is your favorite character? Let me just write that down.
Yeah. You should get. Can you get Morden in this game too, and then just off him
Maybe.
again, over and over again. No. Is this official news of the Mass Effect Dragon Age crossover?
No Mass Effect Dragon Age crossover.
You heard it here first. Well, thank you for showing the game. Oh,
sorry. I just had one more question. So creating female avatars, like in production stage, how much time does that take? I mean,
that's something you guys have done in every game.
Yeah, we have not. We've always had full. You can play whichever gender you want. We have 4 different races in this game, so we're actually adding another race, Canary, and then 3 classes. So we have quite a bit in terms of variance. We really want you to be able to play a character that you want.
Was that ever like a strategic or business decision for you guys, or is it just the?
No, really for a role-playing game, at least the kind of role-playing game we're making, it's about you playing a fantasy film character, and so in order to do that, we've always felt that you needed to be able to have as big of choice as possible. In Dragon Age 2, because it was such a specific story, we had a more limited choice. We just it was a human character because it was the story of this family more than it was the story of a specific character. But in Dragon Age Inquisition, we really want this to be the story of your character and letting you have the opportunity to play the character that you want.
So it was always a priority for BioWare to provide, both genders.
Absolutely.
I guess one last question. I feel like you guys have played this game pretty close to the vest. It's out in what, October?
Yep, October.
And this is really the first time that we're seeing it running. Why the decision to sort of hold back before actually showing people like what the actual game? We've seen video. We knew it was going to look pretty, and you guys have talked about all of the things that you're doing in the game. But this is really the first time we've seen it running. Why the decision to hold off?
Partly it's just a production reality because this game includes so many new features or so many features we had to rebuild for Frostbite. With this kind of game, you need to be able to show a really wide swath of features for it to really make sense. This has been the first time where we've really been comfortable with it being together enough to really be something we wanted to show really broadly.
Because it was only recently that you guys were still cutting things out of the game. Is that correct? Like features and stuff?
We always have to pay attention to the game from a feature set perspective and make sure that we're doing is right for what the game is going to be or what it wants to be.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you very, very much for bringing the video to show us and finally debuting the game. I was very excited to check it out. It looks really cool. And thank you all for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have a few more videos, a few more previews. E3's just about to wrap up, but we got a ways to go. So stay tuned, and we'll be back really soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.